Hey guys, thank you for joining me today. I want to talk to you about red flags part 2, how to respond. I was talking to a friend who really enjoyed last week's video, and he suggested to me that I might want to talk about how to respond to red flags. So if you remember in Luke 12, 13 through 14, I spoke about a situation with Jesus where a man approaches him and says, "Master, speak to my brother that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto me, Man, who may be judged to divide it unto you?" Now what's really interesting is Jesus excuses himself from this conversation. Now, Jesus many times judged people and spoke words that did bring division, but in this situation, he excuses himself and doesn't want to get involved, which tells me that he picked up there's a red flag. There's a lot more to this situation than you and I think. Now, a red flag is universally known as a warning sign, whether it be at the beach, on the road, even at the airport. There are red flags everywhere. Do not enter, warning, danger. Even near the cliffs, there are red flags everywhere. So red flags in relationships are very similar. They're warning signs that something could be wrong. Certain behaviors, actions, attitudes can indicate that that relationship's very unhealthy. And what I did last week is I spoke about certain red flags that you can pick up through conversation and the behavior that comes with it. So this week, what I want to do is speak to you about how to respond to red flags. And so I hope this really helps you because you need to be able to work through it. You can't just ignore it and walk away from it. It's worth addressing the issues as they arise. So here's some details on an approach that you can have and how to respond to a red flag. Number one, identify and understand the red flag. In other words, recognize the specific behavior. Try and pinpoint the exact action or pattern of behavior that's really raising concern with you. And then consider the context, whether there might be some mitigating factors involved here and whether you really should talk to them or not. And then you might even want to trust your intuition. This is where intuition really kicks in, because if something feels off, normally it is, and you need to be able to recognize this behavior as a red flag. Number two, choose the right time and place. Avoid public confrontation. Choosing a private setting where you can have a calm one-on-one conversation is much preferable and will probably get you a lot further with that person. And you also need to consider, when you're going to meet with them, consider the person's state. Make sure they're receptive to feedback and they're not overly stressed or emotional at that time. And if need be, if you're in the workplace, you might even want to tell them they might need a support person. Number three, communicate clearly and constructively. In other words, use the I statements. Express how their behavior makes you feel rather than accusing them. For example, instead of saying you're always late, try and say, I feel frustrated when meetings start at this time, but you always turn up and it makes me feel like it's not important to you. That's a far better approach than an accusation. Be very specific and avoid generalizations. Instead of saying you're so negative, try to say, I've noticed you often complain about work and it always pulls me down. Is everything okay? And then finally, focus on the behavior, not the person. Address the specific action, not their character, because if you just start slandering their character, it's just going to turn into a fight, a big argument. So address the specific action, and finally, be open to their perspective. Listen to their explanation and try and understand their point of view, because they might have a valid point, you never know. Number four, set boundaries and expectations. Clearly state what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. Communicate your boundaries and expectations for future interactions. I'm always saying and talking to people, this is what I find acceptable, this is what I find is unacceptable. And also in boundaries, be prepared to enforce your boundaries. If the behavior continues, then you've got to be prepared to take action, such as limiting a contact or even ending a relationship or putting them on a record of discussion. It's got to be addressed some way or another. Finally, number five, seek support when needed. Talk to a trusted friend, a family member, or someone who knows them, and discuss your concerns and try and get some advice. You might even want to consider some professional help as well. You could talk to a therapist or a counselor if it's a complex situation. Whatever you do, get someone to speak into it and help you so you're not alone in your decision. I hope this really helps you. When red flags are being signaled, you need to address it one way or another. and hopefully you can find a way through to redeem the situation. Hope this helps you. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.